Welcome back to my Final Fantasy XIV drama series. Today's drama story is about the Lovebringers Manchild. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Here we go again, guys. We got another story about Lovebringers. The Lovebringers Manchild. This may be my fourth Lovebringers drama story ever. Dear Pathra, this is my story of why you should never date ultimate raiders with too much free time. Oh shit. Okay. Straight away, first line, juicy. In September 2023, I broke up with my best friend and dear partner of 5 years. We met in Final Fantasy XIV and saw each other in real life when we could. We had that kind of connection that I am not sure I will ever find again. He was my soulmate. We were both in college, and after he graduated, he couldn't find work in the tech market, so he had to go back to get his master's. The distance between us and lack of time together finally crept up and killed our relationship. The Savage tier was over, and we had nothing to do until the next expansion. I could finally do ultimates like I had always wanted to do. Some of my friends went on a break. Some even went to play World of Warcraft. So I started hanging out on Ether. But it didn't take long before I was intensely lonely. High-end rating was not all about achievements to me. It was also about the camaraderie with people I raided with. I don't enjoy the PF atmosphere as much as I do raiding with friends. I needed to make new friends, but how? I didn't want to hang in Limsa because last time I did that, a group of Lalafels mobbed me and kept calling me Bunny Mummy. That was disturbing. I wasn't sure that Leminsons were what I wanted for my new friends. Sounds about right. So I searched on Google, and I quickly found Lovebringers, a Discord for Final Fantasy XIV dating, but also to find friends. I figured I might as well try, because I know I'm not meeting anyone in the RP clubs. I put up a profile and specified that I was only looking for friends. Big mistake. I was instantly flooded with a bunch of messages from very thirsty, very weird guys. One told me he's looking for his gothic raid girlfriend who's built like Mewtwo. What? I decided to reach out to some players who seemed level-headed. I was looking for a raid friend, and I thought a girl raiding friend would be nice to have. But it didn't seem like very many women who raided were on Lovebringers. Then I saw a profile from a guy, let's call him Chaz, who had written a pretty straightforward bio. So I messaged him and struck up a conversation asking about his progress in the current Savage tier as an icebreaker. He responded right away and asked me right off the bat if I was looking for a relationship or just to be friends. I told him I was just looking for friends, especially friends that would like to PF ultimate raids during this downtime before the next expansion. Even though Chaz was talking to a girl from Lovebringers already, who he was romantically interested in, he was still willing to be friends with me. We clicked pretty well and decided to do some Savage reclears together, but did not go on voice chat, and he was also streaming so his girlfriend could watch. Sometimes he would disappear to go watch a movie with her. Chaz would also often send me songs he discovered that he liked from Spotify. I didn't like all of them, but I added the ones I did like to my list. It was a platonic relationship with everything pretty much out in the open. We had nothing to hide. But it wasn't long before I found out that apparently this girl from Lovebringers who was dating Chaz had problems with me. During our P11-esque reclear when Chaz was restreaming it to her, she somehow found out my Discord profile and stalked me. I had my playlist on shuffle, so she must have been watching my profile for long enough to see that one of the songs that Chaz had sent me. Of course, he had sent her the same song, and she brought that up and they had a fight about it. She must have had some kind of weird insecurity, I guess. Yeah, why can't people like the same songs? Apparently, she had been gaslighting him about the most mundane things and started fights over dumb things like 2B bottoms and who wears them and why. She would make a big deal out of nothing. In any case, it didn't take long for him to move on from her. He told me he just wanted to forget about dating and asked if I would want to PF Ultimates with him. Hell yeah, I said. It seemed like a good distraction that we both needed, and the workload for my college that semester was very light. So during this time that we had to share, he taught me the unreals. I had completely forgotten that they even existed. We went on to tea for a little bit in PF, but one night while we were mastering Living Liquid, I was hit with a series of awful migraines. I get them sometimes. They're caused by pressure sensitivity from the atmosphere. I couldn't continue on and was sick for a week. After I felt better, I asked Chaz if we could resume progging tea, and he didn't seem interested. I was confused. Why had his interest suddenly waned? Finally, he told me that me being sick had killed his motivation and he didn't want to prog the fight anymore. I was a little shocked, but I could understand why he might feel that way. It had been a week-long delay, so we stopped progging tea, and we were getting along really well, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. I accepted. He was extremely sweet and kind. We would endlessly gush over each other. Things were perfect, and we were in love. I eventually had to tell Chaz about my real-life situation. I was living entirely alone. I had been estranged from my abusive family. I had originally moved to Canada from Australia to be with a common law partner who ended up hitting me and had lied about wanting to get a job. He wanted to be a stay-at-home gamer while I worked to support him on a minimum wage job because he didn't believe in college. He was into conspiracy theories during the Trump presidency about some grand educated population mass disinformation campaign. I decided to get the F out, and now I'm in college for a software development degree to try and get a skilled job to support myself. Chaz was very empathetic and told me that I deserved happiness and that he'd like to help me find it. Over the following months that we played together, he told me his intentions with me were long-term, forever long-term. He asked me to think about a future together with him. He told me that while it might take time, but with some effort, we could make it work. Chaz lived in the US. He told me to not stress and just focus on finishing school, since I was only 2 semesters away from graduating. Chaz told me he also wanted to be there to celebrate my graduation, which honestly made my day. I told him that would mean everything to me because I had no one else to celebrate with. He was so sweet to me. We would often tell each other sweet nothings. We had exchanged selfies and we were attracted to each other physically. It seemed magical. We were clicking so well and everything was falling into place. I ended up quitting the top static I had at the time to spend more of my free time in our budding relationship. My group was great, but I wanted to make my boyfriend a priority. My classwork wasn't too bad either. This was a rare non-coding semester, so we had a lot of time to get to know each other. Chaz would show me photos of the area he lived in, and it was really beautiful. He said he was happy to share this life with me, and he didn't want to move anywhere else, so I would come live with him after college. We could save for a house and start building a life together. I was genuinely so excited at the thought of starting my own life with him. He wanted to meet up in real life, and he asked me when I would be free. I told him I would be free at the end of the year during my semester break, but we never got around to making plans. And then when my semester break came around, he was annoyed that I had a bunch of free time. I was confused because I sure had told him about my semester break, but he hadn't followed up, so I had figured that maybe he just wasn't that interested. I shrugged it off and told him my next semester break would be coming late April to May. This time, he was very intent on visiting, so we looked at hotels together, and he booked a flight. He even decided to propose. He said ideally he would have liked to have waited longer, but he felt sure of me as his lifelong partner, and we wanted to expedite the immigration process. Since he lost interest in tea, we started running Baja to level him up there, but running that content with him wasn't what I expected. Once we got him to rank 25, Chaz wanted to farm metal in Zone 3 in Zadnor. He'd throw up a YouTube or Netflix show to watch at the same time. At first, I was more focused on staying alive and doing the skirmishes. We were both warriors, and I needed to pay attention to healing him. But he got frustrated with me because I wasn't paying attention to the show. I apologized and paid more attention to the show. But now he would die sometimes because I wasn't paying enough attention to know when to nascent flash him. He would huff at me and then rage quit the instance or log off, telling me to just watch the show. Sometimes he would tell me he's going to sleep and he would completely log off. I would be left confused and crying, feeling like I had done something terribly wrong. Holy, the expectations are so high. Do this and do that and be good at it. During our Unreal reclears, things were getting weird too. I had been a healer main for what seemed like forever, and I was excited to start my tank arc now that I didn't have a static shoehorning me into shield healing them. I was really so excited to co-tank with Chaz because he was an excellent tank, and I was hoping he could teach me some things. I knew my rotation very well on Paladin and just lacked the actual experience of co-tanking. Chaz assured me that he would help me, but then proceeded to get annoyed at me for not intuitively knowing when I should be reprisaling something. And this wasn't for missing reprisal for raid wides or tank busters, but simply not realizing I had an extra use for it for heavy autos he was taking. Chaz seemed offended by it, as if I purposely wasn't trying to help him out. Sometime later, we found a UCOB group. I had already cleared it, but I needed to reprog because I wanted to clear it with Chaz. He was very absorbed in re-clearing Uwu, and he wanted to learn how to main tank it so we could co-tank together. He spent a lot of his days doing Uwu and UCOB in PF while I began grinding my new semester of school. I warned him repeatedly before it started that this semester was my capstone class. I would be building a project for a company with a team, and we would have weekly audits on our code. I would be extremely busy. It seemed to work out at first. We would often catch up in the evenings when I was done with class. We would jump right into PF for either Cobb or Uwu to reprog them. Most of our time together was about watching his POVs from his shadow plays, and it really started to weigh on me. But he would get upset if I drifted off mentally, so I had to pay attention. Eventually, he got really far ahead of me in these fights because he could spend all day, every day grinding them. He would join Sauce's prog parties when he was ready to clear and started clearing without me. For the listeners who don't know, Sauce, aka Sausage Roll, is a guy with a team of Penta legends who help other players clear or prog ultimates, and they stream it. They will stack a party with 7 seasoned players and guide you through. Yeah, if you're a raider, you know Sausage Roll. He's a good streamer, but like there's definitely content out there on Twitch. They like just raid with all their friends and they like help people like clear. And that's their content. That's what they like. Me, I do drama content. When I go online with Final Fantasy XIV, I read these stories. Other people, it's helping others to clear content. I felt sad because he had mentioned wanting to clear ultimates with me. I had been excited about doing it together, even though we were just reprogging, but doing the fights with me was no longer his priority. My evenings were about watching him re-clearing and then him getting upset at me if I mentally drifted off because he wanted me to be paying attention and taking notes. But my point of my view was completely different. I was in a STEM course. I spent all my day burning my brain out, and the last thing I needed was for all of my quality time with my partner to be only about studying Final Fantasy XIV raids. But if I brought it up, he would fight. Finally, Yukob and Uwu were done, and things returned to kind of normal. Now I see why she says at the start of the story, don't date a hardcore ultimate raider, like who no life's the game. We enjoyed semi-casual content together for a brief period again, returning to Baja and Unreals. I think it only works out if both people are on the same page, but they're in totally different pages. Like one is just into the game so much and the other one has a very busy life. But Chaz just seemed to get more and more upset. I was no longer allowed to play Warrior in Baja because he said he had trust issues. Trust issues that I wouldn't pay enough attention to keep him alive. So I had to play Healer instead. I honestly loathed it and found it so boring. The tank actions had been some of my favorites. He wouldn't let me swap jobs around either. I had to stay on one job with one set of actions so he knew what to expect of me. Damn, he's even controlling what you play now. Chaz eventually got bit by the ultimate bug again and he wanted to do DSR. I was excited and said I would be willing to PF as much as my free time could allow. I had a burning desire to complete a level 90 ultimate. We hit a hard wall in PF in Meteors of Phase 2. We realized with my limited time and the nature of PF, it would be better to assemble a static. I asked if he would be okay leading because I don't have the time to do the roster and trialing. He said no, that didn't work for him. He was okay doing callouts, but I had to assemble and manage the team. I was taken aback because I thought he would be willing to help more. He had so much free time. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for someone as busy as OP to manage a static. Homeboy just wants a stream viewer, not a girlfriend. He worked in childcare, but it was his family's business. He watched some kids once every week for half an hour and maybe had to fax something every 2 weeks. He spent all day, every day in Final Fantasy, and if he wasn't playing, he was sleeping. So I assembled the group and let him lead it. We found a group of very good players. All of them had great skills and good attitudes. Chaz brought one of his friends into the group who had cleared already and was interested in helping Chaz clear. It was a casual group for adults with real-life responsibilities, rating for only 6 hours a week on the weekends. But the vicious cycle had started again. I would come home and Chaz would be in Party Finder. He would demand I watch his POV prog and have me take notes. This was getting to be way too much. I started to really miss just hanging out with him. We didn't even watch shows anymore. I couldn't do anything brain off. It was just raid, raid, and raid. He would get upset if I didn't pay full attention to the POVs, of course. During 2 of these weeks, I got sick with the flu and bronchitis. He said, "You're not getting out of raiding." So I showed up. He would blow up my DMs if I forgot to mitigate. I was sick and I was loopy and forgetful, but Chaz told me, "I can't carry you. You need to lock in." I almost would rather PF a co-tank. I asked, what am I doing wrong? What could I do better? He told me that he needed me to take a reprisal that the main tank normally does, and this was simply because he struggled to fit it inside his burst. Wait, is he saying he doesn't want to reprisal himself because it doesn't fit his burst? What the heck? But yeah, this is weird. So yeah, chat's even saying, is this a skill issue then? It would be this strange back and forth, him telling me to reprisal mid-fight, then suddenly in the next 3 pulls asking me why I am reprisaling there. The constant changes added to my forgetfulness, and hence he got more upset with me and told me to focus up. In addition, he micromanaged when I could provoke. I normally use Thornton's room-wide animation because it was a safe indicator that the main tank would no longer take autos, and Thornton was about to phase. Chaz would have me randomly delay the Voke by an extra GCD or 2 and get upset if I did it too early. I was confused at first, then I realized he was micro-optimizing the aggro bar to a decimal degree of aggro, getting his primal rend off before allowing me to provoke. If he got upset, it was because I voked before his primal rend. While it's possible that he could crit with Rend after a provoke and a shirk, which gives the other tank half of your aggro bar, he would not be anywhere near having enough aggro to pull off of me, and Thordan already stopped autoing. It was a whole ass non-issue. This is like crazy tank lingo. Like, I get the baseline of it though. So he's trying to get a better parse. Yeah, basically. When I was finally not sick anymore, he lightened up and gave me rave reviews after our DSR sessions. But I hated raiding at this point because I felt like I had to do so much extra just to get his seal of approval each session. It seemed so ridiculous for a guy who said he didn't take things seriously. He really took this shit seriously. He told me that because I'm his girlfriend, he's extra hard on me because he knows I'm a good player. This is where all my doubts really started to creep in. I brought up my concerns and the way he had been treating me, and he threatened to leave the relationship by saying that he would be fine and he would continue to be fine when he leaves. I apologized and made up to him, scared I might be ruining something good between us. Oh shit. The topic of my graduation came up in our conversation, and this time he said he wasn't interested in going. Oh my god. I cried. He said it was a financial thing. I said I understand and moved on from it, though it did hurt. I wondered why someone who wanted to marry me wasn't interested in coming to my graduation, especially knowing how I spent my youth homeless and it took me so long to get to this point in my life. He originally had wanted to attend the ceremony. I don't know why he changed his mind so suddenly. Oh, that's so bad. Anything that's super important for your significant other, like, why wouldn't you be there? Shortly after the weeks I spent sick, my capstone team found out that the company we were doing our project for went bankrupt and dissolved. Our instructor told us that we needed to make our own new project or he would give us one. The team came together and we decided we'd treat this like a hackathon and just grind out something new because we needed something working and working fast, so we'd have it presentable ASAP. I disappeared for 2 weeks with my capstone team, having to grind out learning a whole new program language and a new library while building something new. During one of my capstone classes, Chaz messaged me about how he was thinking about life. He said he'd like to be a house husband. He wanted to have children and take care of them while I would be working full-time. I was delighted with the idea if I could land a good job. I wouldn't mind if he took full-time care of the household. Since I was extra busy in school, Chaz went ahead of me again in Party Finder and cleared DSR with the Sauce team. This is someone that's always on the Sauce's stream then. Must be pretty recent. Despite saying he wanted to clear the fight together, he promised he would use the clear to come back and help me, though he only ended up helping our white mage, who was also progging ahead in the Party Finder during the day. Whenever I was free in the evenings, he was so burnt out from raiding and trying to get his DSR reclears that he either only wanted to sleep or only have me watch his shadow plays or other paladin POVs to have me study. I told him that he's had me study so much that I felt confident and only needed to see those phases now to complete them. So could we please do something else? He proceeded to completely ignore me and continued mansplaining phase 6 and 7 over once more. I was so confused. This is just a game, but it seemed to matter way more to him than I did. He said I had neglected him while I was busy with school, so he made his own schedule. It didn't include me anymore because he was not expecting me to be available. He was now focused on his reclears because he really wanted the gunbreaker weapon. I asked him if it was possible to fix this situation. I'd make extra time for him and let him know as soon as I could what free time I would have available so we could plan for it. He agreed, and I told him we could hang out Thursday because it was my last truly free day until the next Friday. Lord, please don't let this boy procreate. That Thursday, we watched a few YouTube shows he picked out. During the shows, he pop quizzed me on my tank mitigations for phase 6, and then he went to take a nap. He told me not to hang up the call because we were supposed to be hanging out together hour after hour passed. It was clear this was a full sleep catch-up day for him. I was messaging my friends in the background, no longer sure I wanted to be with this guy. I needed to make sure I wasn't going crazy. My ex, who I had the 5-year relationship with, called me on Steam and I told him the whole situation. He and my other friends said I needed to drop this loser immediately. The next day, I asked Chaz why he wanted to marry me. He responded sharply, because we can fight about things and work through them. Why? Did you expect more? The curtness of his tone made me want to cry. That's the sort of answer you might expect from a roommate or a coworker. But when people want to marry you, they should have an endless list of reasons why they want to be with you. I decided that's it. I'm going to find my way to break up with him. He can lie to himself, but I finally see the truth. He showed me by his actions that the game was always more important than I ever was to him. I never want to be with a full-time gamer after one of my ex relationships where another guy tried that with me. He asked me to make time for him, and I made more time for him than I should have because he didn't even spend it with me. Here I had made myself available, and then he says that he's busy. When I brought it up, he said that he's weaning himself off his personal gaming schedule and needed time to adjust to it. I could only think in a mocking tone, "Oh, poor baby with the easy life who only wants to raid all day now faces the worst adversity in his life. His life partner can't be available 24/7 for him." As I had told Chaz, Thursday was the last day I could hang out with him until the next Friday. I asked him if he wanted to watch the PAX East livestream. He didn't just blow me off. He aggressively said, "No, nothing about that interests me." So I made plans to watch it with my friend who already didn't like Chaz before. Now she absolutely hates his guts. That morning, Thursday morning, Chaz messaged me asking me to watch it with him. I said, "No, you weren't interested and I've already made plans to watch it with someone else." He replies, "Oh? Well, then this is awkward. And this someone is a guy? Well then, I guess this is it. Good luck with everything." I told him it was my female friend and reminded him that I told him Thursday was our last free day until the next Friday, and he blew me off when I asked earlier, so I made plans to watch it with someone else. I'm not going to suddenly blow my friend off just because he changed his mind last minute. Back on my own I go then. Good luck with everything. Message me whenever you're done being busy, I guess. I'll be waiting. Are you still gonna do static raid or is that done? I couldn't believe what I was reading. He really thought he's going to break up with me and I'll come crawling back once I've graduated because he couldn't handle the fact that I had adult responsibilities. I even warned him before the semester started that I would be busy. Every week I had given him breakdowns of when to expect me to be free. He just didn't utilize it. Chaz said that he thought I was a great partner when I wasn't busy with school, and he thought I could have continued to be one after. He hoped I would find someone who has the right fit for me. I lied and said I thought he was a great partner too, and moved on. I told my DSR static about Chaz and I breaking up, and one of them messaged me saying he empathized with the situation and to thank me for continuing the group, and that he never liked the way Chaz spoke to me. He said that he felt like Chaz spoke to me as if I were a child. The more and more people I spoke to about Chaz, who even briefly interacted with him at all, said the same thing. He was universally disliked and then outright hated when I told them the full story. It was eye-opening to realize how abusive and narcissistic he was, constantly blaming others for how he feels and his own inability to grow up. One sentence that he said to me burned into my brain. "It doesn't matter that you didn't intend to neglect me. What matters is that you did." Being in college wasn't a good enough reason why I wasn't spending every second of my life in this game with him. And to further unpack, the fact that he believed that results over intentions was what truly mattered was so effing childish. I could not stand to marry someone like that. When he was breaking up with me, Chaz told me he was going to take a break until Dawn Trail and maybe quit altogether. He said he was going to do IRL things. He said he only kept playing because it kept us connected in our long distance relationship. That made me think. So I joined Lovebringers again, and there it was, his new profile looking for a new woman. The next day, he's moving on fast. 3 days later, he messaged me asking if we could talk about things. This time though, I let him have it. I asked him, "What's there to talk about?" I was only a good partner up until I had adult responsibilities. So who's to say when I go to work, a real 9 to 5, you won't just make your own schedule for gaming again? That doesn't include me, since I can't be available for you 24/7. I gave you everything I had, more than I could afford to, and all you gave me back were rules, expectations, and insecurity. Chaz said, "There's more to my boundary issues that you simply don't understand. You never could. It looks like you're not open to fixing things, so I'll leave it at that. Wish you the best." I was seeing red. I was so pissed off. I didn't want to hear any more about his useless goddamn boundaries that he conjures up to protect himself from putting the slightest amount of effort into his life. And fixing things, as if me being busy with school was ever my fault. A problem I caused him, the sheer level of arrogance. I let him have it. I told him everything. I brought up all the bullshit he put me through and all the stupid effing rules he made. I wasn't allowed to talk about my college or schoolwork because he couldn't understand it and didn't want to try. He got annoyed when I got off the phone with my dad one time. I made contact with my estranged family just to get a passport for his sake, because I was speaking in a thicker Australian accent than usual. For any normal couple, it would be funny, but no, my accent upset him. He ignored me when I asked to do anything else other than watch POVs and shadow plays. I couldn't speak to him about most topics because he'd always accuse me of stressing out about them rather than just coming from a place of curiosity or wonder. When we were in call, I would have to just wait for him to bring up a topic. He always told me to leave whenever I brought up the slightest problems in the relationship, so I finally walked. He responded with some random drivel about how everything was still my fault, and blah blah blah, my love was overbearing, and I needed to dial it back. I simply blocked him. He wanted to marry me, but you know, I was just too much for him. He likely only wanted to be a house husband so he could game all day. He spent 30 minutes at most with the kids in childcare, so he only knows the fun part of child rearing. He used to tell me that he missed me while I was in class when he first met me, but I wasn't allowed to say I miss him back because it made him feel guilty. He used to send me cat memes and videos, but I couldn't send him back cat memes because he said he already had cats and he knew what they were like already. What the fuck? What are these rules? You can't send me cat memes because I have cats and I know what they're like already. Oh, and the best part, when he cleared DSR with Sauce's team on stream, he told me to log in and stand next to him. We had matching names, so it was obvious we were together. But as I tried to congratulate him, he completely ignored me, too busy messaging his PF buddy from that fight. I stood there awkwardly for 20 minutes and then finally went to bed. Chaz didn't see the problem. It had been such a huge weight off his back to get the clear. Of course, he didn't have time to acknowledge his fiancée trying to congratulate him. Whoa. Everything is just about the game for him. Terminally online, right? Yeah. I saw he had moved to another world server immediately after our breakup and re-cleared DSR because he had the gunbreaker weapon and a new T clear. So all that about moving on to do IRL things was a total lie. You and I both know, dear reader, that this man cannot divorce this game. Another week later, and what a coincidence, he is in a private, very small FC of the girl Static, who we progged UCOB with briefly. It's like he went to that world server knowing that's where he wanted to end up. No, he didn't just go to any world server on our data center of his various friends he had cleared DSR and top with. He went to the server of this girl we met in PF who had a connection to Synosis Ultimate Reclear Static. Someone probably knows who that is. These are all like sausage clear party, meeting a girl that supposedly plays with Xenos. What? Yeah, I don't know how close of a friend to Xenos she is. So that could be anybody. Which reclear Static? I don't know. That's the point of the stories. They're anonymous. As for me, I'm moving on with my life. I made excellent friendships in my FC. I was finally able to hang with them and started making events to help them clear content. The FC leader and his girlfriend were both super supportive and reached out often to ask how I was doing. Even though I was mad, I was still incredibly hurt by everything he did, and it took me a while to deprogram and become my free self again. I reconnected with my old flame during my breakup, who helped me through my healing process and grounded me back into acknowledging that I hadn't done anything wrong. And thanks to putting my capstone class first before the game, I was offered an opportunity at a startup my capstone instructor is co-founding. I was brought on to be the lead of the front end because he was impressed with my coding and design skills. I was able to get my old flame a job there too. So now we are working at the same company, and it could be a pathway to immigration for one of us. If not that, then solid experience on our resume with professional references. Oh, that's good. Let this be a happy lesson. Always focus on your real life first and never suffer those who live vicariously through gaming. While Chaz might have seemed put together, his life entirely relied on his family allowing him to work at their business while doing practically nothing. He had no ambitions and would deal with being upset by going to sleep during the day. He was an avoider and placed blame and responsibility onto others to deflect from needing to put effort into any area in his life. Should the day come, he'd have had no transferable skills to contribute to a real childcare business. That's not how well-adjusted adults handle stress, and that's not what we want our partners, chat. We want equals who will face life's challenges with us, not those who would shoulder the burden onto us to face alone. Those who don't seek to improve themselves are drowning, and they'll also try to drown you too. I'm not going to lie to you, Pathra. Writing this up and sending it to you was diabolical because Chaz and I have watched your drama videos together. But you deserve good content, and I deserve to be treated better. So why not? Thank you for reading, and thank you for listening. The end. Yeah, man, this sounds like someone in the raid scene that's kind of known. Yeah, so Chaz will definitely see this. It kind of reminds me of like the Avery story, 10 Years of Lies. I mean, this is not 10 years, so at least there's that. But it's kind of like, you know, there's a girl and she thought she was in a great relationship. It turns out the guy is just like not everything they thought the guy would be. Yeah, I mean, Chaz also no life's the game, just like Avery, right? They're both ultimate raiders. Okay, just so you know, not all ultimate raiders are bad. Man, that would be so boring to like watch someone's shadow replays all the time. I like watching my shadow replays. I don't want anyone to watch my shadow replays. Like, what the heck? That would be so boring. Yeah, it's too much work. No one has the time for that. People need to just look out for things for themselves, and that's it. So for him to expect his girlfriend to like watch his stuff and like know everything, she's also really busy, so she can't really like, she's just not on the same page when it comes to like all the things he's doing in the game because he has more time than her. I just say different priorities. He did not prioritize her first. He prioritized the game first. Like, don't get in a relationship then if you can't even prioritize your girlfriend or fiance he was like, oh, cool, a girl who raids, but she's just currently super, super busy with like her work. But one day she's gonna be my sugar mama. You know what's crazy? Because she was like, if you are actually willing to be a good husband in the house, she was considering it. There are good house husbands, don't get me wrong. There are good housewives. That's a lot of work. Not gonna discredit that. But I think he was just going to play Final Fantasy. He wasn't really going to do a whole lot of housework by the sounds of it. Like, he wasn't going to put in the work already. I don't think he was going to put in the work like later down the road either. It's actually going to get worse probably down the road, right? A housewife and a house husband is still real, like still a lot of work. Cleaning the house, house chores, errands, taking care of kids. Someone's got to do it, or both of the parents do it and share the responsibilities. So that's a happy ending. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this Final Fantasy XIV drama story. Remember, these are real people behind the stories and they're human and can make mistakes. They'll also be reading the comment section, so please try to have constructive criticism. There are always nicer ways to say something versus saying it meanly to help someone learn and grow. If you have any of your own drama stories that you'd like me to share and read out anonymously, feel free to reach out to my Discord, discord.gg/Pathra.